You guys ever notice how time seems to fly by when you're having so much fun? Well, that's just how it's been since I moved here to the Quad Cities about 6 years ago. And today, I want to share with you my true opinion about what it's like to live in the Quad Cities. Do you want to know what it's like to work, eat, sleep, and play in the Quad Cities? Well, that's what this channel is dedicated to. So if you're interested in stuff like that, hit the subscribe button down below and click that notification bell to get notified every single time we upload a new video. And honestly, we get so many calls, texts, emails from folks like you who are either moving or relocating to the area, and we absolutely love it. So if that's you, give us a call, send us a text, heck, send the Pony Express if you want to. We're here for you. Now, when people are moving to the Quad Cities, the one thing people ask me is, do you like it? And the answer is, yeah, this is my honest opinion. I do generally like the Quad Cities. And the number one thing that I talk about when people are moving here is the feeling that you get when you move here. Now, I grew up in a small town, only about 1,500 people, and the Quad Cities is much larger than that, sitting at about 400,000 people. But what I enjoy about the Quad Cities is I still get that small town sense, as well as having that big city option of entertainment. Now, one thing that always seems to come up whenever you're talking to anybody, it doesn't matter where you live, is talking about the weather. Has anybody ever noticed that about people? They always gotta talk about the weather, right? Well, I think it's because it affects us every single day. And my opinion about the weather right here in the Quad Cities is pretty neutral, to be honest. I grew up in Iowa. Quad Cities is Iowa, Illinois, so it's not really much different than what I grew up with. Although, if you've never been here, in general, we have the 4 seasons. You got fall, winter, spring, and summer. My least favorite is the summertime. I can't stand hot weather, and we get the humidity here, so it's not my favorite. Again, this is just my opinion on it. Fall time, you can see behind me, that's where we're at right now. Absolutely love this kind of weather. It's my favorite. The weather's nice. You can wear a light jacket if it gets a little bit too cold, or put on the shorts because it got too hot. I love that, and it's one of my favorites. Now, I don't like the winters, but I don't like them as much as I hate the summers. The winters definitely can be cold. When I first moved here to the Quad Cities, we had the polar vortex, and if you haven't heard of it, well, it was super cold. We got down to negative 40 one day. Not the typical that's going to be negative 40, but you're going to get those cold weather days. You get a lot of snow, all of that. I love the weather in the Quad Cities. You get all those 4 seasons, so if that's something you're looking for, you might want to check it out. All right, let's do a little story time with Alex here. So 6 years ago, I was fresh out of college. I had got a new job. I was starting an internship, and I was moving to the Quad Cities. I had no idea what to expect as a young professional moving here. I really, really enjoyed it when I moved here. And when I did first move, I was, like I said, an intern. And, we had a bunch of interns. We'd go out all the time, have a great time. We'd go to all those downtown areas. So like Moline, we'd go to Rock Island downtown, or the district. We'd go to the village of East Davenport, which I'm close to right now. And then we'd also go to downtown Davenport. There's a lot of different bars, breweries, hangout locations, different events, farmers markets. Anything that you're really looking for, you can find it right here in the Quad Cities. And I really enjoyed it when I first moved here as a young professional, hanging out with a lot of those friends of mine. As interns, when I started my full-time job, a lot of those interns have left, but I didn't have too hard of trouble making friends, elsewhere that were in all these locations as well. So if you're a young professional and you're really thinking about moving to the Quad Cities, well, speaking from experience, I think it's a great place to come. My honest opinion about living right here in the Quad Cities when it pertains to traffic is it's really not that bad here. You can live anywhere within the Quad Cities. Say you live in West Davenport and you want to get to LeClaire, that's really only going to take you about 15-20 minutes. And if you live outside the Quad Cities, depending on where you're at, you can get pretty much anywhere within the Quad Cities in about a half hour or so. But other concerns for traffic is maybe say up on 53rd and Elmore in North Davenport. Sometimes that can get pretty congested just because that's a huge shopping area that a lot of people like to go to. So be aware if you're going there. On the Illinois side, if you're thinking about traffic issues, maybe John Deere Road, right along that big corridor, you might run into some issues there as well. But in general, traffic is kind of a non-issue. My biggest complaint about the Quad Cities is the outdoor recreational areas that you have options to. Now, just for perspective, I grew up in western Iowa, which is where the Luss Hills are, and if you're not familiar with that, there's only two places in the world that have Luss Hills. It's western Iowa and China. And it's kind of a rougher area as far as terrain goes, which means there's a lot of public land available to go out and explore on. So that's where I'm coming from when I say this, because when I moved to the Quad Cities, I don't find that there is a ton of public land available to go to. And if you do go there, a lot of it, you're going to meet some of your closest friends because the population density is a little bit higher here with less land. So you're going to run into a lot of those people out and about. But as far as what we do have here, we have places like Scott County Park. You got Wildcat Den, which I just went to last weekend, and it's amazing with the fall leaves. Very, very beautiful. You got Loud Thunder that's close by. So there are options, and you can get on the Mississippi for that matter. But honestly, it just doesn't stack up to what I came from in western Iowa, where I could go out into the woods, not see anybody for days on end if I wanted to. Now, I've had people argue with me about this next one, and I don't know about it. I don't think the Quad Cities is really a vacation destination, and some people have different opinions about that. But if you've ever been here, it's not a place that a lot of people say they come and tour a lot. So that's my opinion about it. But what I do like about the Quad Cities is it's centrally located to everywhere you want to go. We do have an airport, so it's an easy drive to that airport. Fairly cheap as far as parking goes. Sometimes the tickets are going to be a little bit more expensive just because it is more of a regional, international airport. So something to definitely consider. But as far as getting out of the city, getting out of the Quad Cities area, it's definitely doable because we are centrally located. We can go to Denver, we can go to Dallas, we can go Las Vegas, all those different areas, and it's very easy to reach those areas because we're right in the middle of all of them. So when I first moved here, I told you that I was an intern, but I actually moved back to college to finish my last semester, and I came back as a full-time employee. And when I came back, I really didn't have a ton of friends, and honestly, that was okay because I just got out of school. I literally had $200 to my name, so I didn't have a lot of money to throw around to try to go out and meet people until my first paycheck, which at that time I was getting paid once a month, which is a long time to go when you don't have a lot of money. But what I did do in order to try to meet some people was I got to go out and volunteer for different organizations. It's a great way for me to start meeting people, and it is something that I'm still passionate about today. So one thing I really like about the Quad Cities is all the different opportunities to volunteer for different things. So it's a big part of my life. I love that the Quad Cities is such a good area for different volunteering, and I wouldn't replace it with just about anything. So one thing that really bothers me about the Quad Cities, in my opinion, and it's kind of minor to be quite frank with you, is the amount of internet providers that you can choose from. There's really only 3 major ones that you can choose from, and 2 of them I've had terrible luck with. I won't say names, but there was one company when I first moved here. I had an apartment, and they're about the only option at that time. So I called them up. I said, hey, I need internet. They said, great, we got 15 megabits per second. We'll hook you up. I was like, all right, 15's not super fast, but it'll do for me. Well, come to find out, I start using it, and I do a speed test, and it comes back at only 2 megabits per second. So I call them up. I was like, hey, what gives? You told me 15, I'm only getting 2. But actually, you know, I don't know who told you that, but we don't even have the capabilities of giving you more than 2 in that apartment complex. So needless to say, I was a little bit pissed off about this. Well, fast forward 6 months, I ended up buying my own house, and I had a couple different options. The one that I didn't like already, and just another one. Again, I'm not gonna say names. I liked the other one, didn't have too many issues with it, but they were very expensive, and I didn't really have another choice because I was already mad at that first company. Until just recently, we had another group come in, and they're a fiber network, and I honestly absolutely love them. They're cheaper than the one I was talking about before, and they're faster too. I'm getting almost 200 megabits per second upload and download. We only have the 3 options. I wish we had a few more, but hey, it is what it is, and you gotta choose one of them. Now, to make up for a lot of those outdoor recreational areas as far as big outdoor forest, we got something that's really nice, and that's right behind me, and that's the bike trail system and the city park system. Now, the bike trail, it goes all the way around the Quad Cities. Recently, with the big upgrade of the I-74 bridge, it's definitely something I really enjoy using. It gets me outside, even if it's not in a wilderness setting where I'm out in the forest with nobody to see, but it definitely gets me outside, and I really enjoy it. And then the city parks as well. I love a lot of these city parks. It's a great place to go out, walk your dog, spend some time with friends. So definitely something I really enjoy doing. So here's the deal. I can't cover everything, and this is a lot of my opinion. So if you want to know more about what the Davenport area is like, check out this video right here, because I go into a more in-depth look at what it's like.